Hey crafty family, it's me. And today we are going to make that awesome Christmas tree that I showed you in the last video, in the beginning of the last video, that real pretty one. So it's very easy to make that. You won't believe what I made it out of. I made it out of coffee filters. Can you believe it? That pretty tree was made out of coffee filters, and you too can have a pretty tree if you have coffee filters. And if not, they're cheap. They're like $1. So you can get a whole bunch of them for $1, and the only other thing you need is hot glue and a cone of some sort. And I'm not going to show you how to make a cone because I suck at making cones, and I kind of just have to wonk it together and figure it out. But there's a million videos out there that'll show you how to make a proper cone. I just, for some reason, I don't know why, I am stupid when it comes to making cones, and it takes me forever. I'm hoping you can see this without it being too weird. Yeah, you can. Because I'm going to show you how to make it. It's very, very easy. It's just a little time consuming, but other than that, it's easy. I found the best way to do it is you get your coffee filters out, take a bunch of them, and sit and I usually lick my fingers and sit and kind of separate them so that it goes faster. Just separate them and then loosely stack them. I found that that makes it a bit easier. So you can do it from the bottom and grab them, or from the top, however works easiest for you. Hope everybody's having a good week and not getting too stressed out that Christmas is a week away. I didn't have any money to do Christmas shopping, so it made it kind of easy for me. But I made some crafts and stuff for presents. I didn't do anything elaborate because I was fighting so much for the past couple of weeks on trying to get my YouTube videos up that it kind of consumed a lot of my time because I had to deal with computers breaking down and cameras breaking down. So I would come home from work and spend hours and hours and hours just fixing these things, which drove me nuts. So I ended up not getting a lot done, which sucks. But, you know, oh well. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nothing. Alright, so once you got a bunch, and I would usually do more than that, but, you know, I'll start off with that. We're going to start at the bottom. And I'm going to lay this on its side so that I can show you what I do. You're obviously going to need your glue gun, which I need to put a new stick in there. Put a little glue on the back and stick it in. Oh, we're dripping. I must have pushed on it too hard. Okay, you're going to want to have a heat-safe mat. It makes it easier. If you do drip glue, it's not going to be a big deal. It peels right off the mat. And it's kind of fun to sit here and pick at all the glue when I'm done. So, yeah, I'll peel this off. What you're going to do is you're going to take your coffee filters and you're going to take your finger and stick it in the middle and then kind of bunch it around your fingers like that. So it makes like a flower. That's all you're going to do is do that and then twist it at the bottom. And I usually twist it about an inch. Maybe. I twist it about an inch and then I kind of flatten it. So this is the part you're going to glue to the tree. So you're going to twist it and leave about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter, you know, whatever, just something. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I kind of fold it like this so that it looks like, you know, like an L shape, because we're going to glue it like this. And yes, it's going to hang down a little bit. It's going to hang over the bottom, but when it's sitting, eventually when it's all sitting, it'll be fine. So we're going to glue it. And the first row, I usually start with where it's folded part. That is going to be about an inch up from the bottom. So it'll end up being like this. I don't know if you can see that. So it's close to the bottom, but still hanging off. A lot of the poof will be kind of hanging off. So once you get into the groove of it, be careful because you can definitely hurt your hands doing this. If you have a spatula of some sort, it's best to use that to lay down your thing. Just be careful if you put your hand underneath as well, because this gets really hot underneath and you can burn yourself that way as well. It doesn't matter how sloppily you glue it down. If there's glue around it, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, see how sloppily I put my cone together? It doesn't matter. It's all going to get covered up in the end, so it's all going to be fine. So that's how you start. And you're just going to go all the way around, and you're going to space them about, I guess about an inch apart, no more than that. So I usually just take it, pinch it from the bottom, and then do that. So you're going to do like, I don't know, so I guess about an inch apart is fine, like that. I don't know if you could see. I know it's white on white, so it's hard to see. About an inch apart, I would say. And once you get the first one down, it's easy to even it up so that you're not going too high or too low. You can just even it with the other one. But yeah, so about an inch apart. I always put a good amount of glue on. I don't skimp on the glue. You have a few seconds to move it if you need to, if it's not quite where you want it. But no more than an inch apart, I would say, because you want it to stay nice and full. I will link the original video of where I seen this done. She does it a little different than me, especially when she gets by the top. And I mean, I like her version, but I found that I like my version better. I like the way it comes out better at the top than hers. I'll show you that when we get to that point. I think she did it thinking that it was the only way to do it, but I kind of figured a way to do it, and I don't know. I kind of like my version better. Why is my glue gun being a douche? Come on. Of course it is today. Of course it is today. Because she does it a little different, and it still looks nice, but I don't know. See, so when it sits down, it might not sit flat, and that's fine for now, because we'll fix all that later. It's all going to work out in the end. I got to figure out why my gun, there we go, fixed it. So yeah, it's kind of a tedious thing. There's not much interesting things to say about what we're doing at this point, because it's kind of just winding this up, giving it a little bend, and then sticking it down. There ain't nothing interesting about that. It goes pretty quickly though. Once you get into the groove of it, it goes pretty dang quick. You'll notice that you're, you know, getting it done. But it does take some time. I mean, it's not something, you probably won't even finish it in a night. You know, like in an evening or something. It's something that might take 2 evenings to finish. That's what the first one did. It takes a few hours to sit and do this. But it's worth it because it's absolutely gorgeous in the end. And don't forget to fold it. It makes it a little easier if you twist it and then give it a little fold, because then it sits flatter. Yeah, this is totally worth it because it's just really so beautiful when it's done. And it just really is a nice, everybody that's seen it has been like, oh my God, it's so pretty. And, you know, and there's so much you could do with it, which is really cool. It's very versatile. You can color it. The girl in the video that I seen, she didn't color her. She left it white. I colored mine. I use sprays on mine, like spray inks, spray paints, whatever you want to call them. She didn't. She just left it white, which is gorgeous. You can leave it white if you have like a really clean look in your house and you like that white kind of shabby chic look where it's just kind of white. Where it's just kind of white. Yeah, you like that white look where it's just kind of white. That makes sense. So yeah, you could totally just leave it white and it looks beautiful. But I go a step further, and of course I've got to add some color. I wouldn't advise doing this with double-sided tape because I don't think it'll hold nearly as well as the glue gun. And I wouldn't probably do it with liquid glue just because you'll be sitting there holding it down forever. And then as you're putting more on or as it leans, it's going to fall off. It's just going to make the job that much longer to do. I would definitely advise doing it with hot glue because it's pretty instant results. And it's not as fiddly as other things. So it just makes it a lot easier. But it's very easy to do. I would say the kids could help you, but unless they're older kids, I don't think the hot glue is a good idea. Hold on. I don't think hot glue in young kids is a good idea. So you're just twisting, folding, gluing. Twist, fold, glue. Twist, fold, glue. And not every one of them is going to look the same, so then that's kind of good. They're all going to be their own kind of shapes. And you're going to have glue strings, and that's okay too. We'll fix those later. So you see how I've got that much room underneath? Like if you look at the bottom from where I sat it. So that you know, when it's like this, you can't see the bottom, but we're going to, like, you'll see how it'll all come together. Don't worry about the fact that it's hanging over and it might not seem like it's going to sit right, because we'll fix all that. But we definitely don't want the bottom showing. And you'll see how the cone, none of the cone shows when you're done. So you don't have to paint the cone or prime the cone or anything like that. Because not an ounce of this cone is going to show, except if you turn over the tree and look underneath of it. Then you'll see some of the cone, obviously. If you look at it through here, you'll see it. And you can cover this too if you really wanted to, but you don't. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. So I'm going to do like one more to show you, and then I'm going to shut off the camera. I'm going to do a certain amount, and then because there's something else we're going to do, like we're going to change the way we do it slightly when we get a certain way up the tree. So I'll show you that. I'll come back and show you that. So I'll get to that certain point, and then I will come back and show you what the next step is, basically. Ow! I'm tired of burning myself. That's how I burnt this big burn mark that's on my hand underneath this Band-Aid, was doing the other tree. So be very careful, because what happened was I don't know what I was doing. I guess I don't remember. I was doing something and a big glob of glue landed there and it pulled my skin up with it. Fun, right? And I have glue strings on me. So just be careful so you don't burn yourself. Yeah, don't worry too much about the glue strings. They're going to happen. All right, I'll be back in a few minutes. Bye! I forgot, before we get to the second part where I got the bottom row completely done, I forgot to show you how we would do the second row going around. Again, you're going to do the same thing to your coffee filters. Give it about an inch or so. And put your glue on, and then you're going to stagger them into the center above, just the way you did before, just above, like, and almost in between the next one, where the bottom of it is kind of in between the bottom layer, if that makes sense. So you see how here's the one on either side, and this one's kind of sitting right in between the top of it. That's kind of how you're going to do that all the way around. So when you put your layers on, you're going to go in between all the way around. Sometimes it ends up where you end up not so in between. It's fine. It'll all work out in the end, but that's basically where you want it to go. So I'll be right back with the next step. Okay guys, once you get to the point where you're about not quite halfway up, maybe like a third of the way up, because keeping the tip in perspective, this is about a third, and then that would be another third, and then that would be another third, something like that. You're going to change the way you're putting these on. I started already over here and forgot to video it, so I'll continue with this row. What you're going to do is you're going to make your thing, but you're going to start twisting it back a little further. And then you're going to cut off about 1/4 of an inch, and you're just going to make it shorter, basically. You're slightly making it shorter and doing the same thing, twisting it and putting on. So that's basically what you're going to start doing once you get about 1/3 of it done, or like 5 rows in, 5 rows of it regular like that, where you used it full size. You're going to start doing it 4 to 6 rows up, depending on how you're spacing them, like this way, spacing them vertically. You're going to cut some of it down so they start to get slightly shorter. Now don't worry about it. At this point, you're going to notice that they're not all completely even, but trust me, we're going to fix that. So don't even worry about it. The only reason we're doing it this way and cutting some off is because it just makes it easier as we go up. So again, you're going to twist it and then cut some off. See, cutting off about that much. And then still using about that much. So it gets a little thicker. And what I do is grab it from underneath and then put it on. And yes, when you get to this point, it's a little more finicky to get them on. That's why I usually grab it from underneath here and hold on to it as I'm pressing the glue on and giving it a press for about, 10-15 seconds. So that I know it stays on. Grabbing my thingamajiggities. So I'm doing this. I'm twisting. I'm cutting about that much off because we're twisting it back further, so it's going to be a shorter fluffiness coming out. And then I'm putting my hand under and then I'm pressing it down. And you're just going to do this for a while, and then we're going to do other things as we go up. But you're going to do this for probably a good 4 or 5 rows vertically. You're going to use the same method. But in the end, it'll all be evened out, so don't worry if you're looking at it and you're like, oh, there's a lot of them that are sticking out further along the sides than others. Don't even worry about it. We've got a quick fix that'll fix that right up, because it's impossible to make it completely even all the way around. Initially, it's just impossible. So I've got a way to do it that makes it very, very easy. So I guess I will go and continue working on this, and then I will come back when I get to the point. Man, my nails still have crap underneath of them. When I get to the point where we need to change it up at all. So I'll be right back. Also, I forgot to mention, as you're going up the cone, it's going to get harder and harder to put it in between the last rows, it's going to be harder to like stagger them between. And I don't want to see, and what I did was accidentally, I'm out of habit trying to stagger them, but really you want to still keep the same space. So don't worry so much about staggering them at this point. You want to worry about, keeping them the same space apart. You don't want them to get too clumped together. And as you're going up, obviously the cone is getting smaller. So you want to, worry less about staggering them and worry more about keeping them about, 3/4 of an inch apart from each other so that they're not too close together because you're trying to stagger them. And so don't worry about that so much. It's really not as, and you'll be able to stagger. You should be able to stagger the next row if you worry about one row. So like every other row, you should be able to stagger as long as you're keeping the one row an inch, about 3/4 of an inch apart or so. So just thought I'd mention that because I screwed up and started. Not that it's really going to matter that bad. It's not going to make a big deal, but it is better to just stagger them slightly, or not stagger them, but make sure they're kept apart a little bit, because it just makes for a better, so they're not too grouped together. And, of course I wasn't thinking of that, and I just kept going and staggering because I wasn't thinking. And they started to get a little close together. So keep that in mind, folks. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so look how fluffy pretty it is. It's getting there. Isn't that awesome? Now you can see how pretty it's starting to really look. So once you get to this point where you have like a good 4 rows where you kind of cut a little bit off the ends, you're going to even go further and cut just a little further off the ends, and you're going to keep going, basically. That's all you need to do is just like you did before. You're going to twist it back, even like if you were twisting it back here, you're going to twist it back just a little further. And then instead of cutting, instead of cutting this much, you're going to cut this much, just a hair more. And so that it's this short. You see what I mean? And you can gauge it because if you notice, it goes like this and then it goes in a little bit here. Can you see that? How it goes from here and then there's like a shelf and it goes in. Well, we're gonna, as long as you make it so that you get a little bit more of a shelf, we're gonna even all this up. It's just for bulk reasons when you're gluing it, so that this part isn't like super bulky as you're getting close to the top. But we're gonna even all this up, so you're just gonna worry about that. And then at the end, it'll all come out. It'll all come out in the wash, as they say. And so you're just going to continue to go around. And as you see this, I'll show you in a second how much shorter this one is. Not by much, but just a little bit. And sometimes it helps put your hand underneath and through the cone while it's drying or setting. But you see how it's just slightly shorter, just by a little bit. And if you have one that's not shorter, it's a little long, it's fine. It's all going to even out. So don't worry, like think that, oh no, you got to take it off if you screwed up. It doesn't matter. It's like I said, we're going to even this all up very easily. You're going to be surprised at how quickly and easily this is going to be to even up in the end. So you're just going to twist and cut. Twist and cut and glue. And it'll all work out in the end. Like this one's not quite as short as that one, but it doesn't matter. It's more for reasons of bulk. Ow! I burnt myself again. It's all for reasons mostly of the paper on the cone itself, the part that we're gluing down. It's more for the bulk of that than anything. Because we could have left it, if the cone didn't taper to a point and be so short and give you such a little bit of room to work with after a while, we could have left it this way and fixed it all at the end. So really, it's more for bulk reasons on the cone itself as you're gluing. Because don't forget now, if we would have left this full length as it was down here, on the cone here, those little pieces would go all the way up to here. So it starts to get harder and harder to glue it on, and it starts getting bulkier, like against the cone. Which is why we're cutting some of it off mostly. But it also helps. It does help with leveling it out afterwards a little bit, so every little bit helps. So we're just going to keep going. I mean, it is a little bulkier anyway, because as you get further down the coffee filter and you twist it, it starts getting thicker, you notice. So I kind of flatten it with my fingers, like the part you're going to glue. I flatten it with my fingers before I glue it on. It gives it a little better surface to glue onto the cone. But it goes pretty quick once you get up to this point, because you're not using a lot to get around. So when I get to the next point where I have to show you something different, so as of now you're just going to keep going around a few times, and then I'll show you as we get up closer what we need to do after that. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so after you've done like 2 rows with it shorter like that, we're going to even cut it just a little further. So it's going to get harder to twist it or keep it twisted and glue it down. So you're going to twist it so that you just have, a little flowery bud there. And now we started out by cutting it there, and then we moved to cutting it there. Now we're just going to go a hair further, and we're going to cut it there, and then just fold it just a little bit. It gets a little harder to do, but you're just going to have this little nub to glue on. So you're going to glue your little nub, and that's going to be how you glue it around from there. And what I'm going to try to do is finish this on camera so that you could see how it's like to get to the top. So I might fast forward through this if it seems like it's going to get lengthy. But I'll obviously slow it down. If I do fast forward it, I'll slow it back down again when we get towards the top, because it gets a little bit different towards the top. So at times I might be off camera if I'm just twisting up the coffee filter and forget to move my hand in front of the camera. So I'm just going to leave myself a little nub. And glue, and sometimes I put my hand underneath it just to push to hold it down because it's thicker, so it's a little harder to get it to stay. And I blow on it sometimes to cool it. There we go. Give it a few seconds. Grab a coffee filter. Now, so far I've used one package of 150 coffee filters and then about a half a package of another 150 coffee filters. So I used what, 225? Wait, no. 325 coffee filters? No. 150 plus, let's say 75, almost 75. Not quite 75. So whatever that is. I suck at math. I was way off. I don't even know. Funny. I really suck at math. Am I even going in the right direction here? I don't know. I guess so. At this point, does it really matter? As long as we get them on there. It gets harder to kind of put them staggered when it's, you only got that little nub to work with. So at this point, we're not really worried about staggering them or anything like that. We're just worried about filling in the rest of the cone, more or less. Good times, good times. And like that one, I didn't cut off quite enough, but that's fine. If you know, just do the best you can to get these suckers on there. But it's real pretty when it's done. It's gorgeous, darling. It will be gorgeous. But what's nice is you can make like, now this is obviously a larger cone. I don't know how many inches this is. It's probably about 13 inches or so. But you can make small ones too, smaller ones. I mean, you can't do too small with these because obviously, like I couldn't do this size cone because these are so big. I have another thing that I use for this, which I might show in an upcoming video, but you can use like, you know, a 10-inch cone or, you know, maybe even an 8-inch cone. I guess just experiment and see what works. You can use a bigger cone, obviously. So if you have big enough paper, you can make a huge cone. But what would be cool is if you did different sizes and grouped them together, like on a table or on a mantle. Would be cool to have like 3 different sizes. That would look pretty badass. And like I said, you can leave them white, which would be really pretty too. And just spray them with some like sparkle, like a sparkle spray. That would be pretty cool. But this one I'm going to be coloring because it's for a friend. And she wants it a certain color, so we're going to color it. But it's really not hard to do. It's a little time consuming. Like, you know, it's taken me probably a total of, I stopped a few times and did other things, but probably a total of putting these on 2.5 hours, maybe tops, I guess. I don't even know if it was that long, really. But it's really not hard. And that's, you know, the hardest part is having the patience to sit here and do it. After that, spraying it and stuff, that's the fun part. And it's not really that hard to do. It's not hard to do at all, actually. It's fairly easy. And it doesn't take long to spray it and then embellish it, really. Picking out your embellishments probably takes longer than actually embellishing it. I wanted to do a live Ustream before Christmas, but I was hoping to have my cable internet back to be able to do that, but I don't have it back yet. So unfortunately, we're going to have to probably wait until after the new year. So So I'm hoping January I'll have my cable back. Fingers crossed. Dirty fingernails crossed. God, I got all kinds of paint and ink and all kinds of stuff under my... a lot of it's distress ink because I was screwing around with a little thing and I was distressing something and I'd gotten it all over my fingers and under my fingers. Under my fingernails, I mean. I am a messy crafter. But I hope you guys are all ready for Christmas. I'm sure not. I never am ready for Christmas, I don't think. Ow. Stop burning myself would be nice. Alrighty. And as we go to the next layer up, we're probably not going to be cutting much more off of the coffee filters since it's gotten hard to cut any further without it being kind of not looking right. So we're going to just keep doing what we're doing as best as we can. So it might puff out a little bit more. It might look, you know, quite uneven for a while, but it'll all work out in the end. I just try to cut it as close as I can without going too far. I cut it as far up. I guess you can cut it a little further up if you want to try to. Luckily, this is a very cheap craft because coffee filters are cheap. So this whole tree, potentially, if you leave it white, would cost you like $3 to make at maximum. If you paint it, you know, or spray it, I mean, and add embellishments, then of course the cost of your embellishments. But they can be cheap as well because obviously you can make your own paint sprays. I've showed you how to do that. And for embellishments, you can just use buttons. You can use buttons, you can use just ribbon, you can use lace and kind of put it around. So you can just use what you have in your stash. You can make some paper embellishments. That would even be cheaper. So really, this is a really cheap project that turns out beautiful. It's probably one of the cheapest projects I've done. So definitely need to give it a try, because in an evening you can create something that looks like it costed, you know, a lot of money. The one that I showed in the video I'm selling actually for $35, and it's actually still up for sale if anybody wanted it. It's in the last video. You'll see it in the beginning, and maybe if I remember, I'll either put a picture at the end of this video or show you a video of the other one. It's real pretty. It's real shabby chic. Although I can't guarantee you if you wanted it that it would get there by Christmas, considering when this video is going up and how close it is to Christmas. But it's real fluffy. Fluffy! I love the way these look. They come out so pretty. It's definitely a unique gift for somebody. One of a kind. And I'm not going to be that upset if my other tree that I made doesn't sell, because it's so pretty. I love it. So I'm not going to be that sad if it doesn't sell, because it's so beautiful. Whoops, I just dropped a bunch of crap on the floor. What else is new? I gotta get some more filters out. We're getting close to the top, folks. It ain't gonna be long. We'll start with those. Goes by pretty quick after you get like to the middle of the tree. It really does go by quickly. Sorry if I'm out of frame. I'm trying to stay in frame. It's a little hard. It's big. Now you could space these out more as you do them and then fluff them more. But I feel like I've seen like wreaths done like that. They can do the wreaths with the coffee filters and they fluff them out a lot. I like it bunched up better, in my opinion. I think that it looks better because it makes it where it really doesn't look like a coffee filter. And I kind of like that. So now I'm starting another row. I really like how when it's like bunched up, it does not look like coffee filters at all. Like when this tree is done, you are never going to think this is, even knowing that it's coffee filters, you're still going to look at it and can't believe that it's coffee filters. And whenever I tell anybody, they're like, really? And they like totally don't believe me that it's actually coffee filters. Like I remember showing one of my friends and they're like, coffee filters? What kind of coffee filters are they? And I'm like, regular round coffee filters. And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah. It's funny. It's magic. We're creating magic on here, and I'm burning my fingers at the same time. That's magical, isn't it? Yeah, I'm putting them closer together at this point. Because I'm cutting so much off of this, it's losing a little bit of its fluff. So I'm cutting or putting them a lot closer together as I'm getting closer to the top, because of the fact that I'm cutting off so much of the filter, and it loses its fluff. So the closer together, it stays fuller, I feel like. That's just my theory. Because I think the lady that originally did the tree that I seen on YouTube, the one that left it white, she put them further apart and then went through and like separated them, I think. But I like them better closer together. I think it looks fuller, in my opinion. And it's very sturdy. So even if your cone itself is like, my cone is just, like poster board. But it's so sturdy now that coffee filters are on it, that I was actually concerned at first that I wasn't using some sort of a lightweight chipboard or something to make the cone. And then when I did it, I realized how sturdy it actually was, and that it was super sturdy anyway. So it didn't really matter that I didn't use, chipboard, because it was so sturdy. I'm really just filling in at this point wherever I can find a spot. I'm going to put one there too. I just stuck it here first. I know. It's like watching paint dry, I would imagine. Boring. Gets a little hard to cut when you're having to cut it up into the thicker parts of the coffee filter. It's so pretty. You just want to really hold down the coffee, the end you're gluing. You just want to hold it down, especially when you get to the thicker, when you get up towards the top and it's thicker. Just make sure you hold it, good until it stops being hot, so that it really stays on there well. You don't want it to come off. And if one of them does come loose a little bit, if you notice you didn't hold it down long enough, just go back and re-glue it. No big deal. I've had it happen before. But once they're on here, they are on here. You can yank on these suckers, and you're going to rip the coffee filter before you're going to pull off the glue. Because hot glue is great for paper to paper. My nails are really gross. I got to get that ink out of there somehow. I might have to use nail polish remover.